Let's see if that fixes it. All right, let's share it to Facebook. All right.
Yeah, now it's cool.
All right, cool beans. All right, like I said, this is our first show ever, and on a new platform that we've never touched. So there's a lot of ins and outs that may not know about. All right, well, if we're done with the introductions and the whys and the hows, Halston, you get to pull the first topic.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one. I'd like to see where you guys fall on this. So I'm going to do a little segment called Would You Rather? And your two options are, would you rather have a flat tax at 10%, but the government gets to pick where every single dollar goes? Or would you rather pay 25% tax, but you get to pick where every dollar goes?
Horace, go.
And why?
Well, given the two choices, and these are the only two options, I would pay the 25%. That way I decide where it goes. And I can make sure it doesn't go to things that I don't believe in.
Okay.
You know.
All right. Oh, so 10% versus 25%. What I have to say. How did you come up with this question? I'm just curious the backstory on this one.
Well, there's a lot of people that you talk to, and it's like, oh, you're libertarian, so all you care about is money. And that's not really it. You know, if I was given the option, I would rather pay 25% taxes and decide exactly where every dollar gets to go, as opposed to taking home more money, but the government gets to pick where my money goes. I think I have a better selection of things that I would like to pay for rather than the government.
Yeah.
They did fund a study on Vietnamese male hookers and the diseases they have. Why that matters to us, we may never know.
I don't know. I mean, that could be an important thing for some people. Not this guy, but maybe for some others.
Not on a Wednesday.
No, not on Wednesday. No, I saved that for Saturdays. I'm thinking the 25% and being able to have a say where it goes, largely because I think you get a lot of pushback from people as a whole because they don't have any say. It's just taken and applied to where somebody else sees fit. If 25% isn't really too far off, if you look at it in a grand scale. I mean, if it's just that 25%. Being able to kind of pinpoint and throw it towards services and causes that you find value in, it's probably closer to where a lot of people are. I mean, you can disagree with me. I don't know. I just kind of recalling a lot of the conversations I've had with people in the past. That seems to be a lot of the frustration. It's not so much the actual paying of taxes, the fact that it just gets wasted. It gets dumped into black holes that no one sees anything from.
Yeah.
And that way they'll give people the right to pull money away from things like overinflated defense budgets or
war on drugs,
pull from the Department of Justice. So that way it kind of acts as a checks and balances system in and of itself, to where if you have somebody like Sessions, who's a complete total retard, running the Department of Justice, and you don't want him to have any of your money, you could be like, sorry, dude, I ain't funding you.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have a bunch of the old people who are like, yeah, go kill those pot smokers, contributing their money to them, but the rest of us are putting it towards other causes. So, I would say if it's gonna be forced, at least having a say. It's not so much like rape. It's kind of just more like like foreplay.
Yeah, forced foreplay.
Yeah,
forced foreplay. And I kind of like that sometimes. That takes it back to my Army days, and I don't really want to get into that.
Just off the top of my head, it's mentioning Justice Department and reducing funds. Did y'all hear the loss the Justice Department just suffered?
No, honestly.
All four of the people in the currently been on trial on the Bundy case, the Bundy Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
All four of them were acquitted on most charges. Two of them still have to have to face some charges. And as several people pointed out, it looks like jury nullification is still strong.
Yep. And that's something that I definitely want us to dig deeper into with that concept. I think Halston, you and I were talking, and you may not have been aware of that.
No, I've been studying for years. I was just testing you, see if you really.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm glad to hear that you're on point.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen that movie, The Burbs, with Tom Hanks?
Yes, yeah.
Jeff Sessions looks like the old man next door with the bodies downstairs.
Oh my God! All right. So if we're gonna pick on Jeff Sessions, then let's be fair. That motherfucker needs to find a tree and bake some cookies real quick. He is the Keebler elf.
I was about to say the best description I've heard is the Keebler elf.
Oh my gosh! My father-in-law he threw that out there, and I started dying because he was talking about Jeff Sessions and how much of a turd he is, and he's a hardcore Democrat. So whenever he and I are in the same room talking about politics, everybody leaves.
Oh yeah.
But that's something that he and I both could agree on. It's like, yeah, Sessions is a complete and total tool.
Oh God. Yes.
And so yeah, I mean, I would the fact that even Congress is kind of pushed against him and said, yeah, you're not going to go after the medical marijuana. We don't want that headache, so we're going to defund you completely from that. But last story I read in regards to it,
yeah, and
no one likes Sessions. I don't have yet to meet one person who's like, oh my God, Jeff Sessions. Oh, he just really gets me going.
I know a guy. I work with a guy that he's a big Jeff Sessions fan. Yeah.
Speaking
I'm pretty sure he has a Jeff Sessions tattoo on his upper shoulder.
There you go.
The heart around it.
Speaking of not funding the DOJ for marijuana stuff, did y'all see the story about the case where the judge dismissed the charge? Well, I would say suspended the charges against some people that had been charged in federal court in Colorado because of that amendment? Yeah, the judge said, you're not allowed to spend money on this. Out it goes. If they want, if that ever subsides, if that ever goes away, they can then bring the charges back up. But for now, the DOJ is dead in the water on that case.
Yeah.
Those people are free.
Well, tying this back to the original question, would you rather scenario, what three causes would you put that 25% towards?
Ooh.
And go.
Oh man, let's see. The first one would have to be a welfare program. I would imagine, and kind of all encompassing. If I was able to build this program, it would be all encompassing. It would include education and food, shelter, clothing, for a period of time, so that you can really geared towards making that person better for themselves. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not geared towards how long can we keep you on this and control you. How long can we keep you on this leash? But how soon can we get you off this leash so you can flourish as a human? Then I'd probably give a pay raise to like sergeant majors, so they won't be such an asshole all the time.
They'll always be assholes.
I don't think that's good.
It doesn't matter how much they make. They make like $80,000 a year or more than that. So
that's in the job description.
Right. Yeah. Gotta be an asshole. Gotta have a DUI and be an asshole.
Yeah. If you're a sergeant major and you don't have a DUI and you're not an asshole, you're done. You're done. You're done. E9. Go. Get out.
Let's see. So that welfare program would be one. Let's see.
Raises for sergeant majors.
Raises.
Screw the first sergeants. First sergeants don't need shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, sergeant majors, they're the ones that need it.
My first sergeant was a fucking cook, man. He shouldn't have been our first sergeant. Wrong way.
I had infantry first sergeants, and I was a medic, so like this is not fair. I need a poke. I need somebody who understands the struggle.
And then I guess probably the third one. Well, the second one's not real. So the second one would be NASA.
Okay.
And then again, building another program. The third one would be, rather than the government trying to regulate regulating people out of business, I think the third option for me would be to for that money to go into a pool for people that come up with new budding technology that combats any sort of climate change, whether it's anthropogenic or otherwise.
That's an SAT word. Do you want to expand on that one?
Yeah, that means human caused.
Okay. All right. Horace, go.
I just learned that today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just learned that today. Go ahead, Horace.
I'm proud of you.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
For me, I think first would be NASA, but I would expand what it's doing tremendously. There's a book I read years ago called The Millennial Project. And the subtitle for it was 8 Easy Steps to Colonizing the Galaxy. And it laid out step by step, stage by stage, what the author thought was the proper way to go about it. Having read it, I think he was dead on the money. The first thing he did was started with seasteads.
Oh, okay, right.
Because you're out in the middle of nowhere. You have to be fairly self-sustained.
Mm-hmm.
And the cost for those, at the time he wrote it, was about $10 billion per city for 100,000, a city for 100,000 people, which that's relatively low cost.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was 4 times that amount, say 40 billion now per city for 100,000 people, that's still relatively low cost to build.
Yeah.
Get them doing that, and then setting up a reusable launch system. The way he had it set up was using a magnetic launcher to get it to a certain height, and then using lasers and ice on the back end to give it the final escape velocity. For like
all right.
Well, like Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
Using, you want to get something very high, very almost at the edge of as close to the edge of the atmosphere as you can get the top of the mountain to be. But he did a beautiful job. I would like to see NASA start doing that. Number 2, alternative energy, and I don't mean wind. Solar. I don't mean solar. I don't mean geothermal. I mean wacky, out of this world, will probably never fucking work alternative energy ideas.
Burning hamsters.
Burning hamsters, yes.
No, they actually will work. You can actually generate energy that way.
Right.
I mean, if nothing else, you can run a Stirling engine off of that.
Yeah.
So, but no, things like antimatter, safe antimatter, things like
some Star Trek type shit, right?
Well, some of it yes, some of it no. Thorium-based reactors, which they don't require any high pressure systems. They work at atmospheric pressure. They can actually be used to recycle current nuclear waste. And you can get them as small down to the size of a cargo container, if not smaller. So you can, instead of having to build giant ones, you build smaller ones that serve individual communities. So that if you don't have all the high tension lines anymore, power distribution is localized. If something happens, severe weather or something, all you have to do is typically, maybe set up a few lines or something and bring in a new unit if the other one was damaged or destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
It makes infrastructure much, much more malleable and much less susceptible to interference and damage from nature and outside parties.
Okay. All right. So we have NASA and pretty much Department of Energy, Research and Development, or DARPA.
Yeah. Not necessarily DARPA, because this would be strictly energy.
Yeah.
Not because DARPA did weapons research as well.
Yeah, I know.
No, this would be strictly energy, like what is it called? Vacuum energy.
Mm-hmm.
where energy is just pulled out of the vacuum of whatever.
Yeah. I studied that in college. I mean,
Yeah, me too.
I mean, it gets into quantum physics. You know, so there's some theories behind it. Whether they can ever actually be implemented, 0 point energy. That's the name of it.
I've heard about that. I've heard about that. Yes.
So, number 3. I don't know. I would really have to give some thought, because there aren't many things I would be willing to give money to, and the ones I would give a lot of money to. If I was going to pick one other thing, I would set up a fund, or for projects that, to get money, you had to basically prove that your project would be unlikely to provide any viable results within the next 50 to 100 years.
Don't we have that now? I mean, isn't that pretty much par for the course for
That's pretty
no
much
results for 100 years, but we're going to tax you for it anyways?
Well, no, okay. There's a difference between.
I mean, come on. Have you driven on some of the roads here in Alabama? I think they already have that in play.
There's a difference between inefficiency and a program that is so long term that, there is no doubt it won't happen. Everything from, a complete, down to the last little thing, genetic blueprint, to where we know exactly what every little thing does and can tailor, if we want to, we could tailor everything. That's several lifetimes worth of work.
Okay, that's fair.
Things like that. Just anything that will not provide any tangible results in the next 50 to 100 years.
It's a hard sell, though. That's a really
hard sell.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Look at that. Look at that fighter that we keep dropping billions of dollars in. I mean,
how about ethanol?
Or ethanol. Or ethanol. Well, one day, ethanol. One day.
Yeah, it's coming right around the corner.
Yeah, that's a joke. That is
buy your corn up now, folks. First.
I mean, that ethanol pisses me off. I spend so much money on carburetors, my freaking lawnmower. It's not even funny. It's like it just chews through stuff. It's like, please.
It tastes pretty good.
Oh, well,
I wouldn't try, the stuff they put in the cars, though.
Right.
Yeah.
We here at Uncivil Liberty do not condone or
we would do what? I'm sorry.
We don't condone consumption of ethanol.
No, we do not. We do not.
Mixed beverages.
Oh my God, we're going to get so many little labels and little warnings. Do not take anything we say too seriously, and please read before you actually apply anything.
If you are even remotely triggered, be warned.
Yeah. Well, I did put a warning message. It's kind of a side note on our website. Put a warning message down on the whole "be a guest" option. That hey, you might get butt hurt, and that's fine. But we're not responsible for that. So I guess it might go. All right. So 3 things. I would probably do Department of Veterans Administration. Would definitely beef a lot of that. Put money towards getting that beefed up. I think that kind of, being a veteran and then having to go see how the VAs run and realize that people, idolize this type of quote unquote free healthcare. I was like, oh no, this place sucks. So the quality of care there is just, it's really hit or miss. So, money, putting tax dollars towards that, I can see. That's fine. You did your part. You did the military route like a lot of people do. You should be able to be taken care of with equal or better care on the outside. After that, I don't know. We're looking. There's not a lot that's currently in place that I really hold a lot of value in. So like stuff like the Department of Education. I mean, if it's at a federal level, I'm having a hard time. State level, we can kind of. There's a couple of programs that I think might be beneficial, but I think overall, probably for the most part, a lot of them go towards the veterans aspect of things, and honestly, maybe something like a privatized Social Security program, and something to where the people who, if it's worked properly, people who don't necessarily can't contribute enough to fund the annuity, this extra amount kind of will go in to help boost them up, so they don't down the line end up on the welfare system, and makes them better for everybody involved. That's the only thing I can really come up with. Everything else, I was just drawing blanks on. I can't find a lot of the federal government programs that I find really worth my money.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, NASA will always be one of them, because when it comes down to it, as far as what we have gotten out of it, NASA has paid for itself several times over. And I'm not
opposed to NASA. I don't think NASA doesn't have its place. I'm just not, as far as, I guess a hot topic or, super duper importance to the nowadays, from the federal perspective, I don't see there's a lot of benefit that the federal government provides as much as maybe the state or the county provides. Now, if we're able to take the income tax and say, hey, look, I get to choose where it's going to go. I want to be sure that it's going to the state for X, Y, and Z, or go to the county for example. If you can kind of, direct your funds to where you feel they can best be served, going down to the local level will make everybody around you better, make the community better, because ultimately we are more of a community than we are as an expansive massive nation. It all starts local, and if you don't take care of what's local, everything else goes to shit.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
There is no doubt about that. I mean, so.
Anything else to say on this topic, and we'll move on to the next.
Fuck NASA.
Oh, well, I didn't say that now. Did not say that now.
And you will not hear me say that.
No, I wouldn't say that either.
And anybody that questions whether NASA has been worth the money, I will be happy to send them an article, or I won't say an article, but a story that was written, and it's nonfiction. That was written by Robert Heinlein, detailing exactly what we have gotten back out of the space program. The story was basically taken from his testimony before Congress. He was actually called in to testify on the value of the space program in front of a congressional committee. And he basically, then wrote out for publication his testimony, and the benefits he got out of it, the benefits other people got out of it. For example, we would not have computers today if it were not for NASA, most likely, because NASA pioneered microminiaturization.
Mm-hmm.
Without the money that went into that, what would computers look like?
Right.
If you've ever been in a hospital where they had, the little pads on you, but there was no wires going anywhere other than to maybe a little box or something, that's a spinoff of NASA.
Yeah.
Because remote monitoring of the astronauts' health. These are the things that NASA has given us.
Well, in all fairness, I think Star Trek actually gave it to us first, and just NASA perfected it.
NASA stole it from Star Trek.
Because come on, Jean-Luc Picard sitting here on his little reader. Come on,
let's see.
Bluetooth communication. Let's call a spade here. It was all Star Trek. NASA just perfected
teleporters.
it.
I believe Star Trek started in 1967, and some of these things were in effect before that.
The only thing I care about is the next generation. If it ain't got Picard in it, I'm not interested.
Oh,
so that's my stance on it.
Picard's okay, but I will always.
Oh no! Goodbye, Horace. Goodbye, goodbye. I'm sorry.
Horace is no longer a part
I'm sorry. For me, it's all about DS9.
Okay, it's a spinoff. I'll give you that. All right, let's bring this train back on the rails here, because we went from taxes to NASA. Now we're talking about Star Trek. All right, so Horace, you're up next. What's the topic you bring to the table tonight?
Well, we keep using a term that we haven't defined really. What is libertarianism? Well, what do y'all think? What's your takes?
Halston?
Oh, well, that's really a tough one, but it boils down to this overall system that isn't a system. It's revolved around people rather than an idea of what people can be. So without the people, there is no libertarianism, I guess. And it all revolves around individual liberty, doing what you want with what you have without fear of someone taking that away from you. And there's no, it's hard to put it in a sentence because it's not capitalism and it's not anarchy to me. It's not these ideas that are so far-fetched. It's really simple. It's doing what you would do in your living room with your underwear on, but being able to do that everywhere except maybe putting clothes on. You know, it's being able to do what you want to do.
Maybe.
right. Maybe. Except for Luke. It's about being who you want to be without having to worry about what someone's going to do about it.
Okay.
All within the parameters of don't hurt anybody, don't steal their shit.
Okay. Luke?
Well, very similar to what he's saying. It's from the perspective that I champion a lot. It's individual liberty. When you look at any position, I look at it as what's the overall solution or outcome that maintains the individual sovereignty and the individual freedom overall. And a lot of people have equated that the ultimate end result of libertarian ideologies and philosophy is I hate to use the word anarchy, but what it is. No, people are in themselves independently sovereign to choose on how they want to be governed. And ultimately, that is the foundation of whether it's the Libertarian Party or just libertarianism as a concept. Is I have every right to do what I want as long as I'm not harming anybody else in the process. As long as I'm not impacting them physically or depriving them, physically. Feelings don't count. Feelings aren't even on the table on this one.
Yeah.
Because ultimately we are born to be free. We just kind of choose to not be. We subject ourselves to authorities that we don't have to. We're not required to, follow a religion. We're not required to be a part of, a government per se. We just voluntarily do that because out of convenience or out of indoctrination, we just have decided that, we don't want to be free when we want somebody else to kind of dictate to us what we can and can't do. So,
okay.
That makes sense. Do I need to kind of bring it all back together into a summary? Okay.
No, but I will make this point as far as what both of you said. To me, based on how I see what libertarianism is and isn't, what you both described is the result of it isn't actually libertarianism. For me, libertarianism is one thing and one thing only and nothing else. Libertarianism is when is it proper to use force. That's it. That's the only thing it covers. And for me, the answer is only in defense of yourself, others, or property from those who are initiating force or directly threatening thereof.
Mm-hmm. And so for people who don't necessarily understand or who may be kind of new to this concept, it's that's the non-aggression principle, right? Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay. All right. So if that's something that's, you're curious about, I highly recommend people to just go to Google, type it in. You'll find all kinds of information on the non-aggression principle, and you'll read some counter arguments to it. And there's a lot of points on both sides that are valid. It's not always a hard and fast, black and white.
It's somewhat subjective.
It can be, and so kind of I'm just facing out to the people who are watching that. Read up on it, see what you think, and if make your decision that way.
But no, to me, that is the sum total of what libertarianism is. When is it proper to use force? Everything else evolves from that point. And as I said, for me, because the point is only in defense, the going back to something, I think it was in the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
The three guarantees, and please note, people, that as far as happiness, it doesn't guarantee you happiness. It guarantees you the right to pursue it. That's it.
Right.
Nothing more.
That's, it's so disappointing that you have to explain that, but you do have to
Yes,
explain
you
that.
do. Sadly. Disgustingly.
There might be some Bernie Sanders supporters who don't necessarily understand that, and they might need a little coaching, and that's fine. That's what we're here for. We're here to coach you to liberty and help you understand certain aspects of history and the doctrine.
We'll feed you, baby birds. We'll feed you.
Here's the sad / scary part for me. Having talked to quite a few of those, they're actually more likely to understand that part, but not economics in general, than a Hillary supporter.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many ideas that flow around that just sound like good ideas on the surface. Like, wouldn't it be great if we could all just magically woke up and we got $70,000 a year, everybody in the entire country, and we didn't have to worry about anything? Like, wouldn't that be great?
Why stop at 70?
Right. Yeah. Why not go knock somebody out and take their money?
Just go ahead and make yourself it's your fantasy, man. Make yourself a millionaire. Don't cut yourself down.
No.
Sell yourself short, son.
No, I just want a little small boat. I don't need a yacht.
I was reading something the other day that presented an old idea in a new and what I consider to be innovative way. We're all familiar with, GBI, UBI, guaranteed basic income, universal basic income, etc. I was reading a book that presented it in a very new and different way. Rather than giving you money, they gave you trade certificates that could only be used. They could not be used to pay bills. They could only be used to buy goods and services, and they expired at a rate of 1% per month.
I got to read that before I put any comments behind that.
Yeah, me too.
I can't.
That's a pretty far out concept.
It is.
That's a new and different take on it.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to new different takes. I don't like to make knee jerk decisions off something like that until I actually put my eyes on. I know, right? Coupons. Oh, I'm going down to the titty bar for some coupons.
I still agree with it as a basic concept, but if it's going to be done, I like that better than just about any system I've seen to date.
Yeah, and you can even look at we start, I guess, theorizing on what the economic implications would be if everybody was guaranteed a paycheck. Then what's going to happen? Go as far as inflation. You can look at there's so many different areas. Taxation. How's that taxation going to work? Are they going to tax all that money back? I even fucking give it to you.
Sure, it's not money.
It's a 50% tax. Well, I know, but I'm saying what they're talking about with the universal income now.
Oh yeah.
Just cutting you a paycheck, just like you pretty much like coming like a Social Security check. Oh, but I got to pay taxes on that.
It kind of goes down. You go down that rabbit hole that you can go down anytime there's some major catastrophe or the news covers something super far out conspiracy. You go down this rabbit hole of who gains, right? So if we're all getting this universal income, where does it go? Does the guy at the top have more money, or does he just get 70,000 and then the money rinses back over and we get it again next year? Like, how the hell does this work?
Yeah.
That's the part that I think sounds like a great idea on paper, and then you start thinking about it, and the money's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have seen various things, ways to do it, and one of them was in a Robert Heinlein book, and again, I haven't seen anybody do it quite the way he did it. The way he did it is, it was the amount that was given out was determined by the last cycle, last year, whatever, however often they calculated it. But they looked at the disparity between production and demand. Okay, so if there was more demand than production, then or maybe it was the other way around. But anyway, it was figured as a percentage, and that percentage was split in half. Half was given to businesses to subsidize them. The other half was given to the people to spend however they want. And you would have to read the entire thing.
I'm gonna have to on this one because the only way that I see this actually being anything close to viable is an essentially planned economy, like a communist setup, and that's the antithesis of kind of freedom. Because I mean, let me read it. We'll circle back on this.
I will hook you up with a copy of For Us the Living. Do you mind ebook for me?
Yes. Yeah, you talked about this before.
Next week you can just read it to everybody, Luke.
Yes, we'll sit here and I'll just read it. Story hour with Luke. Because if that doesn't make you want to kill yourself, I don't know what it does.
Yeah. Do either one of y'all mind ebooks?
No.
Okay.
That's the only books I have these days, I think.
Some people like Dead Tree, so
I go both ways. I'm by Bookshual, I guess.
By Bookshual. Bitextual.
Bitextual. Oh yeah, I'm a hardcore bitextual.
I will read Dead Tree, but I prefer ebook simply because I go through them so fast. Especially if I'm mobile or out and about, carrying a stack of books is not, really doable. But I can carry this and have 30 or 40 books on it without thinking about it.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, it's the difference between watching RedTube and looking at Playboy. Some people prefer one or the other. That's their choice.
Yeah.
So, can get
all right.
Sticky pages on Redbook.
RedTube. Redbook.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a flat. Oh my God, it's a flashback to my teenage years. Oh my God. All right. Oh, so we'll move on. I guess we're gonna do something a little different. I don't know if you guys pay too much attention to what goes on in some of the libertarian groups on Facebook, but it seems like everybody every day has a question of what is the libertarian stance on whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to randomly pick a topic and going to get the libertarian stance. But in order to pick the topic, we're utilizing a deck of Cards Against Humanity. So if you're easily offended, this is not the time to be a part of this show. All right.
Oh man.
So
be a good one.
Horace, you are going first with a constant need for validation.
There is no libertarian stance on it. That's a fucking personal issue.
Expound on that.
Got him.
How do you expound on that? It's a personal issue. It's not. At no point does the use of force come into play in that. Therefore, libertarianism has no stance on it.
But it could. You could always have that one friend who's always pushing themselves on you to try to validate you as a person. And I don't know about you. I'm not a huge fan of that.
If they do, that's still not that comes down to their use of force, not validation itself. They're separate issues.
Okay.
It goes back to the something we've all seen in the libertarian community. If your idea is so good, why do you need to enforce it with the barrel of a gun?
Mm-hmm.
At the point of a gun. So.
All right. So are you done?
Yeah.
With the validation aspect. All right. Oh, all right, Halston. What is the libertarian stance on sexy pillow fights?
Oh, yes, please. I think is the only stance. No matter your political affiliation or your lifestyle or ideology, I think sexy pillow fights is always a yes. 2 thumbs up.
All right, Horace. You got anything to add to that? I mean, that could be perceived as use of force,
right.
But I think it's a welcome use of force.
My reaction to that use of force would be would be
Yes.
maybe a use of force.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't consider that a use of force per se. It's kind of like we were talking about UFC earlier. Yes, there is violence involved, but it is consensual with a specific set of rules, protecting them. That is fine. That is not a use of force per se.
Mhm.
So again, it's consensual, which is the key that there for me. Is it consensual? Yes, fine. If people want to consent to live under a tyrannical dictator, as long as they don't force me to do so, they're welcome to do so and be absolutely miserable in their existence in doing so.
Right.
I don't care. Not my, what's the saying? Not my monkeys, not my circus.
Not my circus, not my monkeys. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna get that tattooed on me.
Sexy pillow fight with monkeys in a circus.
Oh, well, it's getting a little too serious now. So we're move on to the next one. All right. So what about wearing glasses and sounding smart?
That's all you, Luke.
It's all me, huh? I got contacts. I don't know. The libertarian stance on wearing glasses and sounding smart. I think that's definitely a personal choice. I don't think anyone should wear glasses and not sound smart. I think that if they do, it's really just it's a sad statement that nerds and geeks, have had to they've had to deal with this. So if you're gonna wear the attire of a nerd and geek, you better be smart behind it. But personal choice. I've seen a lot of not very smart people wearing glasses, especially those hipster BCG glasses that seem to be ever so pop. Yes, shake your head, because yes, I have a pair floating around somewhere.
No, man.
Yeah.
No BCGs.
All right. So who's next, Horace?
Yeah.
All right. So what's the libertarian stance on generally having no idea on what's going on?
Again,
Aleppo.
doesn't involve use of force, no stance.
Well, we don't necessarily have to break it down to the hard, I guess, bordered in, boxed in definition. What is your libertarian stance on it? How do you feel about generally not having no idea what's going on?
See, for me, there's my personal stance, and then what my view of the libertarian stance. They are not the same thing. I separate the two.
Okay, all right. I can see that.
And just like the previous one, what was it? Wearing glasses and sounding smart.
Yeah.
I like to think I pretty much do that on a day-to-day basis.
You rock it, sir. You rock it.
So
You're bringing sexy back. And
as far as what's not going on, I see that daily on Facebook.
Yep.
Agreed. But then again, I also occasionally see something where, tonight I saw one of my friends, she had posted, and that her and her husband are having to move again because of his job, and they're renting a place out wherever they're moving to, and was talking to the real estate lady, who is a raving liberal apparently, and is quite happy to tell everyone about it. And
love those.
Apparently got this shocked, oh my God, look on her face when she found out my friend works at the George W. Bush Museum down in Texas, and everything.
Triggered.
Yeah, pretty much. But as my friend said, I don't care. I'm an anarchist. It doesn't matter to me. And that's the first time I think she's actually come out and said, I am an anarchist. So,
more power to her.
Hey, well, when I first met her, she described herself as a libertarian. So,
like I said, for a lot of people, libertarian is just a stepping stone to I almost said final solution. That's not what I meant.
Yeah.
The final conclusion of of that thought process.
Yeah.
God, that's all we need after all the shit that's been going on in the Libertarian Party. I don't need throwing that out there. Good God. Oh, all right. So I guess that was a great discourse on mental masturbation. So we'll move on. All right, Halston, what's the next topic?
Oh, it just happens to be about that solution you were talking about.
Oh,
so there's this. It's sweeping Facebook, especially among my liberal friends, that punching Nazis is just the way to go, and it's. I guess that's how you end racism. I don't know.
That's what I'm understanding.
So I wanted to kind of address that a little bit, because number one, most of the people that are talking about punching Nazis are the same people that would subscribe to the idea, the 100% correct idea that when you bomb Muslims, you create more Islamic extremists.
Oh my God! Okay, but you pretty much just stole the next blog I'm working on. But go ahead. Go ahead.
But when you punch a Nazi, if you believe that, wouldn't you also believe that when you punch a Nazi that you would create more Nazis? I mean, I see that. I see a young, 13-year-old boy on the fence of swinging back and forth between being a decent human and falling into white supremacy or whatever. And then Uncle Skeeter comes home with a black eye that says that dick-armed latte-sipping Antifa guy punched me in the face for being white. It doesn't really matter why he did it. He's going to go home and say, this happens to white people. And then that kid's all of a sudden going to turn into this white supremacist. So I don't think punching Nazis is a great idea. Number one, the logic's not there because the same logic with bombing Muslims creates more extremists. Logic number two is like the 1st through 2nd Armored Divisions, the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Cav Divisions, and the 1st through the 106th Infantry Divisions didn't wipe fascism off the face of the earth. What the fuck makes you think your little tiny punch is going to do it?
Yep.
I mean, if the Army did such a great job in 1945, how did they show up in Charlottesville? Right? I mean, you're wiping off some fascist. You're punching a fascist. You're not punching fascism. If you can figure out a way to do that, let me know. Number three, it violates what Horace has been saying all night, right? That's the use of force that's not proper, right? Are Nazis dickheads? In my opinion, absolutely. So are neo-Nazis and Nazi sympathizers and white supremacists, and they're all just a group of people that I don't want to associate with.
Yeah.
But they still have to have that voice, and they have to have that voice until they say something like, throw them in the oven. Then all of a sudden, that's not free speech anymore. You're physically talking about something that has happened and that you would like to do again. At that point, that becomes a threat. And I don't think that that's covered under free speech.
No, it is not.
So wait till they go to throw you in the oven, then punch them in the face. I guess I don't really know the answer there, but punching a Nazi is not the right way to go.
And I think you really summed up a lot of what I was kind of putting together in regards to the Islam neo-Nazi comparison, because you look at it as, Islam for the longest time, Muslims were quietly forgot. I remember growing up and not really knowing much about them. The Middle East was the Middle East. They are always in some sort of tizzy about something. We, for the most part, left them alone. Aside from Desert Storm, they weren't even a blip on the map. And that's the same way that the white supremacists, the neo-Nazis were. Yeah, were they around? Sure they were. Do they have the right to be around? Of course they do. They have the right to free speech, freedom of assembly. Perfect. Great. That's fine. But nobody knew about them because nobody cared. There was no media coverage on it. This isn't the first time that the white supremacists have held a rally. It's not going to be the last.
God, no.
Being in the South, you see this stuff happen all the time. And the majority of people up to this point have been like, it's just a bunch of idiots doing idiot things. And they move on. What you see now is because you have this idea that you have to initiate some sort of violence in order to get your point across, all it does is create more radicals. And like you were saying, Halston, you have those people who are kind of on the fence, who they don't know where they fit in, and they need to fit in somewhere. And so they're going to see this and be like, oh, these evil people did this. I'm going to go over here. But the same can be said with the opposite, the black bloc. side of the house as well, as people are becoming so polarized that we're creating radicals on both sides.
Right.
And that's, we see this massive growth inside Islam, not because of the tenets of the religion, because it's honestly, it's shit. In all fairness, it's shit.
I second that.
I mean, they support slavery, they support raping kids, they support all kinds of stuff that we find morally reprehensible. But people are flocking to it because there's an action, a radicalness to it now. And so it's the same situation. Have we just take a step back and say, you know what? Idiots are going to be idiots. Do what Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. I'm going to do that. Leave them alone. Eventually, stuff like that's going to die out. I guarantee you, like if they started focusing so much on Black Panthers, and then all of a sudden there's all this hubbub about Black Panthers, you're going to see the ranks of the Black Panthers grow as well. So you're not going to get rid of this type of fascist. You're not going to get rid of this type of ideology by throwing it to the limelight and making yourselves martyrs or making them martyrs over it.
Now,
Ignore it.
One other thing on this, and Horace, you can jump on this as soon as I finish this, or jump on top of me. Whoa.
Oh, shit just got real.
Like in my opinion, like I've seen this my entire life. Growing up in northern Georgia, there were Klan rallies and stuff like that. But that's not what scares me as a person who has biracial daughters or just has a daughter or children that are going to grow up in this world. What scares me are the ones that are not in the limelight. They're off in the middle of the woods having their own little secret party. Like those are the ones that are probably more fearful than the guys that are standing outside wearing combat boots and camis that are 12 years old. Like who is that guy? I don't give a fuck about that guy. I give a fuck about the guy who is conspiring in the woods to go blow something up. That's the guy that I care about.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, as far as which group I'm more concerned about between like the alt-right and the alt-left, I'm actually more concerned about the alt-left because they're more likely to do something simply because they have their faces and everything covered. They can't be identified. The alt-right, they walk down the street with their faces clear as day.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think the alt-left, which is that's just such a weird term, but the alt-left, it's also the group that the majority of people that are on social media and they're seeing what's happening, those are the ones that these people are identifying with. They're like, yeah, we do need to punch Nazis. Like they're the ones that are soaking up all this attention that makes bad ideas sound good.
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as going back to the punching Nazis, I kind of agree with what you said towards the end there. Unless they are directly threatening something. I agree with what you said towards. Whoa!
Sorry. I hit the wrong button on my phone. Sorry. Okay, got that echo going. Okay, my bad. I apologize. Continue.
Okay.
I was watching our stream on Facebook, so there's that delay in there.
Good okay.
Times.
Way to go, Luke.
I know.
But no, I mean, for me, it goes back to the what you said as far as direct threats. I mean, I do not agree with their racially supremacist positions at all. I don't agree with any racially supremacist positions because, well, one, I think it's all bullshit. We're all human beings. It's not really race in the same way as animals have breeds. If we were from a genetic level, if you looked at us the same way you look at dogs, we're all the same breed. We just have different coat colors. That's it. So we're all the same thing. There's no difference other than minor skin differences. What we call race is more properly attributed to tribal statuses.
Right.
These are tribes. And yes, the locations of some of these tribes did have an impact on physiology over time. The Northern Europeans typically got paler skin because they don't see as much sun. They typically have more body hair because it's a colder climate. These are adaptations.
Luke must
You
be
know,
a fucking
so-
North Pole.
Mhm.
But listen, I don't agree with it. But I have, seen writings from some of the alt-right people. Because it's like, what is this bullshit? And some of them have, I won't say they out and out, what's the word I'm looking for? Spoke out against the Holocaust or anything like that, but they did say specifically, this is not what we are after. We're not. This is not what we're after. What we are after, we want our own land that we can live this way. If you want, you want your land to live your way, fine, have at it. Just give us ours. And if they want to buy up a town or a county or a state, and then set their own rules there, I got no problem with that.
They actually did that. I was watching a documentary. And I want to say it was North Dakota, could have been South Dakota, but that's actually what they did. Is some of the offshoots, if you can imagine, like the neo-Nazis, like the worst of the worst, the most militant neo-Nazis. They moved into one of the smallest towns and took it over. Like it took 4 of them to go in and pretty much take the majority of the town. It was like an insanely small amount, but that's exactly what they did. It's a really good documentary. I don't know what it's called. It might be on Netflix. But if I find it, I'll make a post about it. But it was really good because they were following all this turmoil and everything that was going on, and it caught big media attention back early 2000s, I think is when it was. But kind of tying into the conversation as well. One thing I noticed before we actually kind of start doing this evening is that the glorious mouth breather Chris Cantwell has turned himself in. He's got 3 felony counts of utilizing tear gas. Apparently, he was tear gassing the Antifa protesters the night before all this shit went down.
Oh.
Yes.
Another one. Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, it sounds brilliant, but it's freaking horrible, okay?
Yeah, that's
so
stupid.
Anybody who watches this in the future, if this idea pops in your head and you see this, don't do it. I don't care what side you're on. It's a fucking horrible idea. But I saw that, and Chris Cantwell, he is, like I said, mouth breather. He doesn't speak. Granted, he did run a Libertarian Party platform back in 2009. He does not speak for anyone other than Chris Cantwell. He is a complete and total. I got so many words that I'm trying not to use, but he doesn't represent anything other than himself, and that's what he's always been. Before he was a white supremacist, he was a hardcore anarchist. Watched a couple of his videos. I was kind of like, okay. And then all of a sudden, he took this fucking hard right, and I was like, dude, you lost me on this one. Sorry, I'm not following you. The Jews didn't do anything to me. I don't care. Let them be them. I'll be me, and that's kind of how I look at everything.
Oh, that's another. I could talk for hours about that too.
Yeah, no, and sadly, we're 2 minutes past our time. So,
yeah, until next time.
Yeah. One of the nice things, though, about doing it this way.
It's a good thing we don't have a hard stop, Horace. We have to now break for our required commercials. Oh no, wait, hold that. Horace has something to say. Hang on.
Yeah. For those who don't know, me and Luke have both worked as producers on a radio show. So we're very familiar with hard breaks, hard end times, and you cannot run over.
And it
was
conservative talk radio as well.
Yes.
That is awkward as hell.
So, but we both were able to squeak in libertarian ideas and positions.
Mm-hmm.
So,
we were allowed to, but no, it was good. No, that was a good experience.
So,
all right, so I guess we'll go ahead and make this a wrap, and we'll do this again next week.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, to everyone that's watching, the anonymous person in Harvest, thanks for watching.
Hi, Harvest.
Who is it?
No clue. Probably somebody in my house.
I was going to say, I thought it was maybe my parent. Hi, anonymous person in Harvest. All right. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for watching.
Later, guys.
Good night.